The morning the Duke arrived, the sun stood high and unforgiving, spilling its light across the pale stone courtyard like a spotlight meant to expose every flaw, every secret, every quiet hope. It was the kind of day that made shadows sharp and truths unavoidable. By noon, the household would be changed forever, and no one felt that weight more than Maribel Rowan, the daughter no one expected to be chosen, the sister already prepared to disappear. Before the story pulls you any deeper, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Good Soul if you believe in kindness and second chances, because this story lives and breathes on both. Maribel had grown up learning how to take up as little space as possible. She moved softly, spoke rarely, and learned early that being useful was safer than being noticed. Her younger sister Celeste, with her bright eyes and effortless laughter, carried the family's pride like a crown. Their father, Aldrich Rowan, loved both daughters in his own way, but love in that house was measured by value, and value was measured by what the world applauded. Celeste had the beauty people leaned toward, Maribel had the quiet steadiness people leaned on and then forgot. When the Duke of Calderwood announced his visit to choose a bride, the house burst into frantic daylight activity, all ribbons and rehearsed smiles, while Maribel was quietly assigned to pour tea, to stand in the background, to make herself small. The Duke arrived at midday, his carriage cutting a dark line against the brightness of the road. He was younger than expected, with silver-threaded dark hair and a gaze that moved slowly, deliberately, as if he were reading the world rather than skimming it. Maribel noticed this because she noticed everything, especially the way people avoided seeing her. As her father led the Duke through the halls, praising Celeste's beauty and grace, Maribel felt the familiar ache of being reduced to silence. The words floated through the sunlit rooms like dust, settling everywhere. Take the pretty one. The other is too plain, too quiet, too much effort. Maribel kept her eyes lowered, her hands steady, her heart braced for the small, private grief she had practiced carrying for years. The moment of choosing came in the garden, under a sky so blue it felt almost cruel. Celeste stood radiant among the roses, perfectly dressed for admiration. Maribel remained near the edge, the light catching her hair and revealing nothing flashy, nothing designed to draw a gaze. Yet something shifted in the air, subtle but undeniable, as the Duke looked not at the center of the scene but at its margins. He noticed how Maribel listened when others spoke, how she knelt to lift a fallen branch from a rosebush rather than stepping over it, how her calm did not compete with the world but steadied it. In that bright, ordinary afternoon, he saw a strength shaped by patience, not praise. When the choice was made, it felt unreal, like a sound carried on wind that took a moment to land. Maribel's world tilted. Her father's face tightened with confusion and quiet anger, and Celeste's smile froze into something brittle and wounded. Maribel herself felt neither triumph nor joy at first, only a deep, disorienting fear. She had survived by being unseen, and now she was suddenly at the center of a future she had never allowed herself to imagine. The Duke's decision did not come with fireworks or speeches. It came with calm certainty, and that frightened her more than rejection ever had. The days that followed were filled with daylight preparations and whispered judgments. Maribel struggled beneath the weight of expectations she had never been trained to carry. She questioned herself constantly, wondering if this choice would be taken back once the novelty faded. Yet with every passing afternoon, small changes took root. She was asked her thoughts, and they were heard. She was given time, not rushed approval. The Duke did not try to reshape her into something dazzling, instead, he made room for who she already was. In gardens, libraries, and sunlit corridors, Maribel learned that love could be quiet and still be strong, that being chosen did not always mean being displayed. Her greatest challenge was not the world's doubt but her own. Years of being overlooked had taught her to distrust good fortune. Slowly, through consistent kindness and shared purpose, that fear began to loosen its grip. Maribel found her voice not by becoming louder, but by becoming surer. She stood straighter. She met gazes. She allowed herself to believe that worth was not a competition between sisters but something deeply personal and unstealable. As the wedding day approached under clear skies and long hours of sun, even her father's resistance softened into reluctant respect. He saw, perhaps for the first time, the daughter who had always been there, steady and capable, waiting not for approval but for acknowledgement. Celeste, too, began her own quiet healing, learning that beauty without understanding could be lonely, and that love chosen freely could never be stolen. If this story is touching something in you right now, if you feel that ache of being overlooked or the hope of being truly seen, please pause and engage with this video. Your likes, comments, and shares help stories like this reach the hearts that need them most. Just before we end, I have one special request for you. Comment below with the word "seen" if this story reminded you that quiet souls matter. On a bright, ordinary afternoon much like the one where it all began, Maribel stepped into her future not as the rejected sister, but as a woman finally recognized for her quiet strength. The sun still shone, the world still judged, but she had learned something unshakable. Being chosen was never about being the prettiest in the room. Sometimes, it was about being the truest.